Hello everyone, I'm Dannika Warburton and I'm joined by the Managing Director of Medallion Metals, Paul Bennett. Paul, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Dannika. Great to be here.
So Paul, Medallion's transformational deal to acquire the former Forrestania Nickel Operation from IGO has evolved a little bit. Can you walk us through the key changes?
Yeah, sure. So the key change here from what we announced in August of 2024 is that under the revised terms, Medallion's now going to acquire 100% legal and beneficial ownership in all of the Forrestania tenure. Now, that includes the mineral rights, the fixed and mobile plant, inclusive of the Cosmic Boy concentrator, which is what our real focus was back in August, but everything across the tenement package in that sense. And that includes also the information, freehold property as well. So all of the assets, we bring them together. Previously, that transaction was really just focused on the process plant and the supporting infrastructure that was around it.
Okay, and why is securing full ownership such an important step for Medallion?
I think two principal reasons. So first and foremost, this simplifies the ongoing management of the asset. So less crossover, less confusion, I think. I think Medallion can really maintain a focus here on doing what it needs to do to establish gold and copper production at Forrestania, which is what our primary goal is here. So just a cleaner, simpler arrangement. The second reason is that it relates to the gold opportunity at Forrestania. So now the precious metal rights or the gold rights are part of the transaction. IGO will continue to maintain or will reserve the nickel and the lithium rights across the tenement package. But as it relates to gold, this is a rare opportunity to get our foot on a underexplored greenstone belt in WA. Trucking ore from Ravensthorpe to Forrestania has a lot of merit. It's an excellent business model, which we'll execute on. At the same time, though, we think there's a real opportunity at Forrestania itself, and that mill becoming at some point in time self-sufficient in terms of sourcing ore from within economic trucking distance there.
Perfect. And you mentioned that under the revised agreement that IGO retains the right to the nickel and lithium rights across the project. Why is that a win-win for you both?
Well, I think, we're a gold and copper focused business and IGO is a battery metals focused business. So the geology's perspective for both business models. So under this arrangement, IGO can continue to pursue its corporate objectives as it relates to nickel and lithium, and we'll support that in every way that we can. And we want to see them be successful there. But in practical terms, the ongoing nickel and lithium exploration, it spreads some of the tenement expenditure across what is a large tenement package. But in my view, it's a little bit more strategic than that as well. We want more activity in the area. We want more exploration. We want more mining in the area. And that corporate and technical knowledge, the data, the drilling that builds up, if the two parties are sharing that information, then it improves our chances from both sides of having a new discovery. So I think it may be that together, working together, we can unlock a lot more opportunities than we may be able to in isolation.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. When do you expect to reach a binding agreement with IGO?
Yeah, well, that should follow pretty shortly now that the transaction structure's confirmed and bedded down. It's easy then to draft those binding documents. There is a draft document going backwards and forwards between the two parties, but now that those key terms are settled, we can bring it to a end pretty quickly.
And obviously, funding is always front of mind for investors. Can you walk us through how Medallion plans to fund the acquisition, and are you confident in the capital structure?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to say is that this new transaction structure doesn't have a cash component in it as it relates to settlement. So there's no cash if and when the transaction settles. So that's a real positive from our point of view. It doesn't put that overhang on the stock when the transaction comes to close. But to take advantage of the asset and to progress the asset, there is, of course, a funding requirement. We shouldn't ignore that there's some significant obligations that come across with the assets as well when they come to Medallion. So we need to be able to fund those. But we are reasonably well funded to get ourselves to final investment decision. We're progressing our discussions with off-takers, particularly as it relates to those who submitted joining funding proposals with the offtake proposals. We're really confident that if we can progress one of those indicative terms to a credit-approved offer of finance, then that puts in place a foundational piece of capital that lets us build everything else around it and get the project built at Ravensthorpe and the mine built at Ravensthorpe and the modifications done at the Forrestania end.
Yeah, excellent. And looking ahead, what's next for Medallion? You've had some pretty amazing gold drill results out recently. What else can investors expect?
Oh, I think the drill results will continue to flow. Drilling's ongoing. We've enlarged the program slightly. So we originally planned on doing 15 kilometres of infill drilling to grow that resource in terms of size and confidence. We've upped that to 17 kilometres, given some of the great results that we've had. So we're 15 kilometres through the 17 kilometre process. There's a lot of information to make it through the lab now. So those good gold results will continue to flow. I think binding documents with IGO in the next month or two. There'll be de-risking milestones as it relates to permitting, as it relates to studies. And then, as we just touched on, the funding, hopefully those initiatives can be progressed as well. So yeah, a lot of positive news flow through the back end of 2025 and into 2026, and timing couldn't be better. $8 gold price at record levels and M&A starting to heat up in the sector. It's a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah, lots going on and very exciting times, Paul. Well done on your progress and thanks for the update.
Thanks, Dannika.